Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mental Health Impact Series Show, Season 2, Episode 14. Today, we are here to talk about emotional wellness and moving through loss. Did you know wellness is about your physical experience, mental experience, emotional experience, as well as your spiritual experience? Did you know being emotionally well doesn't necessarily mean that you are happy all the time, but that you are self aware and are able to shift as a way to feel better? Did you know colors influence how you feel and help you cope with your loss? Did you know October is Emotional Wellness Month? Today, we have a very special guest with us, the one and only Cathleen Elle, who is going to touch base more about this topic and help educate us further. Kathleen is from United States. She is a healer, speaker, coach, and author. She is a R.I.M certified and international best-selling author and a certified success coach. Kathleen, without any further ado, I would love to bring you on board. And could you please introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your journey that brought you here today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Aanchal. I just love being here with all of you. I'd be happy to talk a little bit about my story. I assist people moving through their healing journey today. And my history is that I was a legislator, I worked for the governor, I owned and operated companies, and in my professional political career, I was also a CEO of a large commercial contractors association. I am and have been a single parent most of my children's life. And in 2010, my son took his life when he was angry with me and not speaking with me, and also wrote a note saying that he didn't want me at his service. So in 2010, I really found myself shattered and found myself lying upon my son's grave, begging and wishing and pleading and saying, whoever, whatever, took my son to please take me too. And I heard this message out of nowhere saying, if this happened in your life, then you're meant to do something with it. Now do it. And that's the moment that I changed the way that I was responding or reacting to my son's suicide. And, that's not the only trauma that I've experienced. I've experienced emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse as a child, bullying, and the list goes on, and for most of my life, I sought on the outside to fill what was felt empty on the inside, to prove that I was worthy, to prove that I was lovable, to prove whatever I could in the world. So I accomplished a lot in my professional career, and yet I still felt empty. And it took my son's transition by suicide for me to actually step into my healing journey. And that's what I get to teach today. So over the last 11 years, I have really invested thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, and found a way to find whatever I was seeking on the outside, actually on the inside of me. And that's why I help people through their emotional journey, and teaching people that healing is a journey. Healing is an experience that we get to have throughout our life, just like a trauma in our life. It is an experience in our life's journey that we get to choose on how we want to respond to that, whether we want to be stuck in the suffering or if we want to step into the healing journey to where you can move through the pain of the trauma and experience love, joy, compassion, and freedom.
That's so incredible, Kathleen. Thank you so much for being here. Every time I hear
Thank
your
you.
story, it inspires me so much every single time. Thank you for the work you do for the world to help give back in a way, help other people in their healing journey because this is so important. Um, this brings me to my next question for the audience that doesn't isn't really aware because I think there's so many terms being thrown around and about. What would you say is emotional healing, Kathleen?
Emotional wellness, emotional healing is actually taking the time to understand your body, understand what limiting beliefs are following in your heart and your head, and as you're speaking, the limiting beliefs that you have, emotional blocks in your body that are from past traumas that you've experienced that are have created a pattern of responding to life. And the emotional wellness is actually being willing to step into that 1 hour at a time, one minute at a time, to step through it, to feel the pain, to actually feel the emotions that you're experiencing. So where you're not stuck in that downward spiral of anxiety or depression or any other um, emotional traumas or emotional limiting beliefs or emotional baggage and pain. There, I was trying to get to the pain word. Um, and so emotional healing takes the courage to step through your pain. And so oftentimes we get stuck in the fear of the unknown. And so what we know today is actually the what we've learned. And so when we continue to respond to what we've learned, we stay in the cycle, the cycle of what we've known. And fear keeps us there. And so as we step into the pain and step into the feelings, the emotions, we start to realize that it no longer has a hold over us, and we can feel new emotions, new ways of being in life.
Thank you so much for explaining that, Kathleen. For people that don't know, Kathleen is also R.I.M certified, which is regenerating images in memory. Could you explain what that is?
Sure. So I actually just completed my master's as well. So I've just taken another level into the R.I.M journey. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Um, R.I.M was the actual tool that really helped me step into my journey. And that was about 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago now. That R.I.M is what really changed my perception and my stories that I had in my head and in my emotional body. So R.I.M, regenerating images and memory, is a healing modality that I get to facilitate you through your emotions. And so sometimes people are feeling stuck, they're feeling a little down, they're feeling depressed or anxious about something, and they don't know why they're feeling that anxiety or any other emotion that they're having. And so what R.I.M does is we are able to locate in your body where you're holding that emotion, and we're able to go into a particular story that you might have created about an event in your life,
Yeah.
and see from a higher perspective and see through other people's eyes. So where you're able to, or awareness, I should say, you'll be able to become more aware that there's more to the story than what we've created at the particular time of the emotion. So I'll give you an example if that's okay.
Yes, please.
So when I was a child, I was 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old, I don't know the exact date, but my birth father shot at us as children. He was an alcoholic. He came home late one night. My mother and father got in this big argument. So there was, yelling, there was physical um, confrontation, and eventually got to the place was like, I'm just ending this, and I'm saying that in a nice way. Um, so he goes to get his gun, and my mom brings my sister and I into the bathroom, closes the door. She puts herself and my 3-year-old, my sister, who was 3 years older than me, in the bathtub, and then she puts me between the toilet and the wall. At that moment, as a 3-year-old child, my story was, I'm unlovable and I'm not worthy enough to be protected, to be cared for, to be taken care of. That's the story, because I was separated. And I also had some abandonment issues around that. That the story I created as that young child, which is a natural story that we would create, is that, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be with you? And so fast forward, he shoots through the door, empties his gun, and then he goes to reload. And my mom brings us to the car and takes us, starts to back out of the driveway, and he starts shooting at us again and, hits the tire. We get up the road a little, and she stops, and I'm like, keep going. As a 3-year-old child, I'm like, just keep going, don't stop. And then we hear the cops come. We go back down because must be the neighbors heard the shots, and the cops were called. And there was a release in my body of like, okay, the cops are going to take him away. So we're safe again. And they said, Annie, we're going to have to take him in. And she says, no, don't, let me go check to see if he's passed out. If he's passed out, everything will be okay. So, and at that moment, my story was, I'm unworthy again. Like no one's going to protect me. And so I created all of these walls around my heart. And at that time, I started to create resentment toward my mom. And I lived that way for a very long time. All of my adult life until about 4 years ago. I had like this, well, not 4 years ago, after Logan transitioned, I went through some other cognitive thought therapy and post-traumatic stress therapy. And I realized through these healing modalities, I was able to go back into that scene and see from a different perspective that the safest space for me at the time was actually in between the where I was located, because there was not enough room in the bathtub for all three of us to be safe. So my mom was willing to separate herself from me so I could be, protected as much as I could.
Yeah.
And the reason why she made the choice to not take him away, because at the time, that if they had taken him away, they would have taken us away, her children away as well. She had already lost a son when she was pregnant for me out of SIDS. So she had already lost a child. And so for her to have her children taken away would have been just even more trauma. So she was willing to continue to be in an abusive relationship and be beaten often, so where she could keep her children. So I created more compassion around the story because I was able to see from a higher perspective and create a new story. So the story that I had as a child no longer had the hold over me or the block in my body to continue to re-victimize myself over and over again. So it is an example of many experiences I've had through the R.I.M process. And that's why I became a master, because I knew internally how dramatically it can affect one's life, including my own.
Kathleen, I did not know about that. I just want to say that I absolutely love that you're out here sharing your message, and I feel even closer to you right now, to your soul. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love you.
I love you too. And, I actually have love for my dad now, fortunately I had a stepfather that came into my life that was a wonderful man that adopted me. And, I did hold resentment toward my birth father. And now I have chills in my body because I have such compassion for both my mom and my dad. For my dad to be that abusive and to live in the alcoholism, what kind of experiences did he go through? And through a R.I.M session, I actually had the opportunity to go back through his life and then his father's life. And I was able to see there were generations after generations after generations of poverty and abuse and a learned pattern of life. And today I just hold, and he's no longer here. He's in spirit, and he's one of my guides. Like Logan, my son, is one of my guides. And I just feel so grateful and so much compassion that he's willing to be on this earth to play the role he did, so where I could be the person that I am today, to be able to relate and to be able to hold, to create space for people to feel like they can find light too. So what I get to do is I get to shine light on other people's paths so they are willing to step onto their path and move through their healing journey. So it's really their healing. They have to have all of us have to be willing to step into our own journey of that healing, to move through that, to release the shackles that we have shackled ourselves in, so where we can live a joyous life.
That's beautifully said, Kathleen.
Mm,
And you
thanks.
made it all happen for yourself,
Yeah.
and now you're teaching others and guiding others in their journey. We have a couple of comments from the audience here. Kathleen is such a great speaker. Thank you, Reach Out Together, for bringing this important discussion to us. Whoever said that, thank you so
Thank
much. That
you.
means a lot to us. Kathleen, you are truly exceptional.
Mm.
How did you keep going after you lost your son?
Oh, well, that's a great question, because I didn't at first. You know, my daughter was in college, 1,500 miles away from me. I was on my own at the time. I did have a partner, but he was 3 hours away from me. So I was really living on my own, and I isolated myself. I was so full of shame for the fact that I couldn't save my son. And I was shameful because I couldn't save my son first. And then because I was a public figure, and that I was fairly successful in the world. I was the one that named civil unions. I created a DNA database. I sponsored legislation that created a DNA database that convicted or exonerated sex offenders. Like there were, so many things that I did on a public level that internally I was like, how could I have not saved my son? I didn't even go to the local grocery stores for probably 3 months. I don't know the exact timing. And again, when you go through something like that, you lose track of timing. And so at first I didn't live, and I didn't want to live. But when I heard that voice, and I know today that it is because I am connected, we are all energy. And
Mhm.
that source was the one that was guiding me through all this. And I believe that I had to experience all of the traumas that I experienced throughout my childhood and throughout my life, so where I could actually survive my son's suicide, so where I could actually make a difference in the world. And so I'm not making the difference in the world on my own. My son is my partner in what I do.
Yeah.
And by being connected is how I took one step at a time, 1 hour at a time. I didn't look too far out into the future. I invested in my healing journey 1 hour at a time. That's what it's about.
I love that. You invested
Mhm.
in your well being 1 hour at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy. There were ups and downs. A lot of people think that trauma or grief is a linear process because that's how it's all laid out in most books. It's not laid out that way in my book, but in most books, it's laid out somewhat as a linear process. But it's kind of like you're in an ocean, and the ocean, the waves are smooth sometimes, and other times there's a tsunami, and you feel like you're drowning. And the more you fight against moving through those emotions, the more you feel like you're drowning. So as you move through, which is what I have experienced, as I move through the limiting beliefs, the emotional blocks, the shame, the blame, the judgment of self, as I move through some of those emotions, I was able to see a bigger picture. It just creates more space and more awareness and more light in our life. And it's created an ability for me to be connected spiritually and become a medium and a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait for more mothers to see this, because
Mm.
it truly is
Yeah.
going to make a difference. More comments coming in. All right. I am so touched by your story, Kathleen. I am so sorry for your loss and for everything you've been through. Another comment, Kathleen, it's wonderful listening to you. And you are truly an inspiration for all of us who are trying to cope with grief. I'm sorry to hear that you're coping with grief at the moment, but recovery is possible.
Yeah.
Another comment, so powerful. We need more people like Kathleen and Aanchal who continue to shine light on the path for other people. That's beautiful.
So I would love to just speak to the grief comment, if I may. It is a journey, and I am truly sorry that you're experiencing this journey. And I promise you that there is a way through it. And there's a grief prescription that I share with my clients. I share it on my website. I share it everywhere. And it's on the front page of my website. It's KathleenElle.com. And the grief prescription is this. This is how you move through the very beginning of your journey is um, be in the moment. Don't look too far ahead and don't look too far back, because when you can reminisce, and yet when you get stuck in the reminiscing in the past, it creates all of these blocks and these limiting beliefs, and it creates this pattern of being stuck in the past and wishing for something that is not today. And that creates depression. If you look too far out into the future, you think that in the future, you're going to feel exactly how you're feeling today. And that creates anxiety. So if you're looking too far out or too far back, it just creates the pendulum of going from depression to anxiety to depression to anxiety. So if you're really in the moment and just really focusing on the moment with some gratitude of what is in your life, be aware that you're not alone, which I'll get to the third one in a moment. Two is breathe. Breathe consciously. As you breathe consciously, it helps to move the emotions, the energy and that is stuck in your body. So it helps free up the stagnant energy, and it creates new energy in you. And it also brings you back to the moment. So I share the 4 squared method with people. Breathe into the count of 4, hold it to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 4, and hold it to the count of 4. Do that as often as you need to, because that will bring you back into the moment right now with what's around you and where you are. And just every minute, sometimes it's seconds, and I get that. Sometimes it takes focusing on the second by second by second. Other times you can focus day by week by month. It's dependent on where you are in your journey. Then third, believe. Believe you are not alone. Believe that there are other people who have gone through something similar to you and are living a life of joy and connection and compassion because they invested in their healing. So you truly invest in your healing and believe your loved one is not gone. Now, this has been the absolute most important thing, I think, out of everything that I've experienced and what I teach that's different than a lot of loss experts, is that spiritually we're connected, energetically we're connected. We're souls in human bodies here. So while your loved one's human body is no longer here, that did die, that is a loss, that is a journey of going through your grief journey, their energetic soul, their being is all around you, and they are constantly trying to give you messages that they're with you. They're always showing up in one form or another. So believe that your loved one is still with you.
I love that. That's so powerful. You are such a powerful woman, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for what the future holds. I know your present too is absolutely fabulous. I know I'm going to let you speak to that. Kathleen, could you tell the audience a bit more about your book, Shattered Together, and all the
Sure.
success that you've accomplished through it?
Yeah. In 2020, a lot of people stopped their life. A lot of people went into their cave because that's what society has shared, that that's what we need to do. And we started to live in the fear again. So I teach people about not living in their fear, or about really saying, okay, acknowledging your fear. What is your fear? What are those emotions that are happening in your body? Pay attention to what's in your body. And for me, in 2020, COVID didn't affect me like a lot of people, because I already knew that life could change on a dime, and that I live my life minute by minute and loving every single thing I can. Even when I don't feel good, I acknowledge that. It doesn't mean that I'm always happy, as you mentioned, Aanchal, at the beginning. Living a fulfilled, connected, joyous life doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It just means that you're able to flow with what's being presented. And so in 2020, I took it upon myself to say, okay, I'm just going to write my books. So I wrote 3 books in 2020. Well, two stories and two different books, and then the book Shattered Together, but all three became a #1 international bestseller. The one that's most important to me is called Shattered Together, A Mother's Journey from Grief to Belief. It's a guide for you to move through your healing journey. And so what's so important about Shattered Together is that it's not just a mother's journey, it is my journey, but it is conducive to anything you've experienced that's traumatic for you or stressful. And each chapter has a practice at the end of the chapter. So where you get an opportunity to actually start implementing some of the things that I did when I was going through the deepest grief that I had. And so it's a workbook in a sense that it's a little self-help, a little memoir, and a little inspiration. So it's a book that's on Audible that I read myself. It's on
Mhm.
Amazon, and it's also on my website, where if you want a autographed copy, then I can send it to you as well.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
so incredible. Another comment from the audience. Whoa, you wrote 3 books in a year. That's incredible, Kathleen. Can't wait to read your book. I second that. So, what's next in your journey, Kathleen? What
Well,
can we expect?
yeah. Right now, I like to just like let the universe give me what I am meant to do, and I'm just taking one moment at a time. And right now, I have a couple of different programs. One is called the Heal Program, where you work one-on-one with me. That everything I learned in the 11 years of my healing journey, I've condensed it into 3 months, and sometimes it takes 6 months or a little longer. So I don't want to mislead you whatsoever, but you're working one-on-one with me. And so there's coaching, there's healing. I also channel energy, and I channel messages from above. And so it's that's I'm a certified success coach, and I'm intuitive. So that's a benefit of the two. And then I also have the healing modalities that I've used and experienced. And so that's one-on-one coaching. It's 3 times a month for a 3-month period. That's the program that I have. I actually have one spot open right now that's open for June. So if you're interested, please connect with me on my website. And then I have a group program called Grief to Believe. That's in the process now, and I have another one starting up in June. So if you're interested, please, again, it's all on my website. And lastly, I think this is really helpful for most people. A lot of people, if they're right in the middle of their journey, they don't want to go to a program. Like the energy it takes to get out of bed is a lot. And I have an online program called Pain to Possibility. That's only $47. It's 5 recordings that are 20 minutes long of just getting to know what your journey is, what are some of the things you can do, and yeah, so it's the beginning of the journey. So there's all kinds of things, and I'm speaking around the world, and I get to speak with Aanchal for Reach Out Together, and I'm just really excited about all the speaking events that I get to participate in. And I'm on a book tour in July in the Northeast of the United States. And then I'm heading to Oregon in August for another little tour there too. So,
That's incredible,
yeah,
Kathleen. I am so happy for you. And
thank you.
also excited for the people that you're going to help because I know it's going to make a massive difference. I can vouch
Mm,
that having a coach beside you truly helps you. Like invest in yourself, guys. Whoever is
yeah.
watching, if you're watching to the very end, I want to encourage you to think about where you're at, where do you want to be, and don't hesitate to reach out for professional help and other supports because help is available. Recovery is possible,
Mhm.
but it starts with you deciding for yourself. So reach
It
out. What's
it
the best
does.
what's the best way, Kathleen, people can reach out to you?
CathleenElle.com. Just reach out to my website, and then all my social media is there. The programs are there. And I also want to just mention for anybody who has lost a loved one, there's a private Facebook group that has over 1,000 people in it right now. It started a couple months ago, and it's specifically to assist people in moving through their grief journey. So please, it's called From Grief to Belief Stepping Stones. So if you're interested, fill out the questions and join that. And, it is, I just want to come back to one thing, if I may, that it's a journey. So what I assist people with is starting to integrate what's occurred in their life into their journey, into their life's journey, and that we don't get over it, we don't move on, we don't forget about it. What we do is we learn how to live with the experience in the best way possible that we can, and then become of service in one form or another from the experience we had. And it's knowing that your life has a purpose. You have a purpose here on this earth. Your heart is calling you, so step into that. I still have a teacher today.
Yeah.
And each time my heart is drawn to another teacher, I go to another teacher because I know that there's always more for me to learn. So
I
thank you.
love that. Love, love, love that. So Kathleen, as we're wrapping up our discussion today, we would love to bring you on board for our next season, which is season 3, because 30 minutes is just not enough. Because honestly, we have so many questions that the team wanted to ask you, as we talked about before, but we'll keep that for next time. What is the one message you'd like to leave people with? Perhaps someone that's still watching, people that are going to come back, maybe someone that's really lost, confused about their mental well-being. They don't know where to go, maybe perhaps looking for some inspiration. What would you like to share with them?
Mm-hmm. You don't have to suffer alone. As a matter of fact, you don't have to suffer. Whatever you're experiencing is a bit of a grief. It doesn't mean that you have to have lost a loved one, that you're experiencing grief, and you don't have to suffer alone. You can choose to step into your journey so you do not have to be trapped in this downward spiral that you might be sitting in. Reach out to someone.
Beautiful. Got another last comment. We only want to take this one for now. Aanchal is right. Having someone help to coach and guide you can make such a positive difference. If you think you need that extra push, please don't hesitate to reach out. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to take some time to acknowledge Ankita from our team, who has been of so much help today. Thank you so much, Ankita. Brad, who's on the back end as well, really appreciate you. Diksha, who's actually on the back end as well, helping out. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We are truly reaching out together to better mental health for a lot of people. So thank you, team, for making this happen for everybody. Kathleen, you are incredible.
Thank you so much. And so are you, Aanchal, and your entire team. If it wasn't for all of you, the message couldn't get out. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot to us. If you are still watching to the very end, we want to hear from you, either your feedback, what you would like to hear about. Is there any specific topic you'd like us to cover? Any specific speaker perhaps you have in mind that you'd like us to talk to? Please let us know. Or if you're a mental health professional, we want to hear from you. We want to interview you. If you have a lived experience, we want to share that. So reach out to Ankita in our team at ankita@reachouttogether.com. We're so excited for our next discussion next week on Friday. This is a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Kathleen.